I emptied my wedding fund for my brother's bail, then heard him say my life was pathetic. When he needed a character witness, I didn't show up. Now he's serving his full sentence. When my brother needed money for bail, I emptied my wedding fund. During his court appearance, I heard him tell his girlfriend, "My sister's life is so pathetic. She might as well help someone who matters." I said nothing. 3 months later, when he needed a character witness, I simply didn't show up. Now, he's serving his full sentence and his daily prison calls all start the same way. "I know I messed up. Please just talk to me." Look, we all got that one family member who's always neck deep in some kind of trouble, right? For me, that's my brother Jake. Growing up, he was the golden child, star quarterback, prom king, the whole 9 yards. Meanwhile, I was just the quiet bookworm sister who kept her head down and worked her butt off. After high school, our paths couldn't have split more differently. I busted my tail through college, landed a decent job at this marketing firm downtown, and started saving for my future. Jake? Well, let's just say he peaked in high school. Bounced between bartending gigs, crashed on friends' couches, and somehow always managed to sweet-talk mom and dad into bailing him out whenever he ran short on rent. I'd built a pretty solid life for myself by 30. Nothing fancy, just a small but cozy apartment, a reliable Honda Civic, not the newest model, but she gets me where I need to go, and a steady relationship with Tom, my boyfriend of 3 years. We'd been talking about tying the knot, so I'd been squirreling away every extra dollar I could into my wedding fund. Nothing extravagant planned, just something simple at this cute local vineyard with our closest people and decent catering from that Mexican place we love. Then came that Tuesday night. I was curled up on my couch in my Target PJs binging some trashy reality show with a glass of Yellowtail when my phone lit up with Mom's picture. "Your brother's been arrested," she said, her voice cracking, "DUI and possession." This wasn't Jake's first rodeo with the law, but it was definitely the most serious. Turns out he'd wrapped his buddy's Mustang around a telephone pole with an open 6-pack of Bud Light and enough weed in the glove compartment to make Snoop Dogg raise an eyebrow. Thank God nobody else was hurt. The bail was set at $15,000. Mom and Dad are comfortable, but not drop 15 grand without blinking comfortable. They'd already put up cash for Jake's previous scrapes, and Dad had just retired last year. Their fixed income wasn't built for this kind of emergency. "We just don't have it right now, honey," Mom said, sniffling. "He's asking for you." I stared at my laptop, the spreadsheet with my wedding fund balance glowing back at me. 16,243.78 hours, 3 years of overtime, skipped vacations, and saying no to happy hours. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "I'll handle it, Mom," Tom thought. I was straight up crazy. "Babe, that's our future you're handing over to your screw-up brother," he said, trying to keep his voice level. I couldn't really blame him. "It's just a loan," I insisted. "Jake promised he'd pay me back once he gets his life together." The skeptical look on Tom's face said everything, but he just sighed and pulled me into a hug. "Your family, your call, but don't let him walk all over you again." The county courthouse was exactly as depressing as you'd expect, all beige walls and flickering fluorescent lights. I sat on this hard wooden bench outside the courtroom, waiting for Jake's preliminary hearing. His girlfriend Amber showed up 20 minutes late, tottering in on platform heels, looking like she'd just rolled out of bed. They brought Jake in, orange jumpsuit hanging off his frame. He looked rough, hair unwashed, dark circles under his eyes. But when he spotted Amber, his whole face lit up. They huddled together at the defense table, whispering intensely. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop for real, but the acoustics in that room were weird, and their voices carried just enough. "Did you bring the money?" Jake asked her. "Your sister's handling it," Amber replied, filing her nails. Jake snorted. "Of course she is. Miss Perfect to the rescue again." I froze, pen hovering, over the form I was filling out. "My sister's life is so pathetic she might as well help someone who matters," he continued. "No husband, no kids, just that lame job and her boring boyfriend. At least this way, her sad little savings can be useful for once. Y'all ever have one of those moments where everything just goes absolutely quiet, like someone hit mute on the world? That's what happened. I sat there, bail check in hand, feeling like I'd been sucker punched. But here's the thing, I didn't say a word. Didn't storm out, didn't cause a scene. I just finished the paperwork, handed over my wedding fund to the clerk, and left without making eye contact with Jake or Amber. Tom found me later that night sitting on our apartment balcony, nursing a lukewarm Corona. "You okay?" he asked, pulling up the plastic lawn chair next to mine. "I heard Jake talking," I said. "About me." I told him everything. When I finished, Tom looked ready to drive straight to Jake's place and throw hands. "That's it," he said. "No more. You're done helping him after this." I nodded, watching the cars pass below. "Yeah, I'm done. Update. Hey y'all, thanks for the support. It's wild how many of you have dealt with similar family drama. Jake got released on bail, that I paid for, and goes about his life like nothing happened. Haven't heard a single thank you. Tom's pushing for a courthouse wedding now, but something inside me has changed. Jake's case is moving forward, and his lawyer called yesterday asking me to be a character witness. Everyone expects me to show up and paint him as this misunderstood good guy. But after what I heard, should I really keep playing this supportive sister role? The next few weeks were weird. Jake acted like nothing happened, texted me about random stuff, asked if I could spot him cash for gas, the usual. Not a single thank you for the bail money, not one mention of paying me back. I kept my responses short, mostly just thumbs up emojis when I bothered replying at all. Tom was still salty about the whole situation. We could have had our dream wedding, he'd mutter sometimes, scrolling through Instagram posts of the vineyard we'd planned to book. We can still get married, I told him, just differently. Yeah, at the courthouse with plastic flowers and a witness we grabbed from the DMV line. He wasn't wrong. Without that fund, our options had shrunk to practically nothing. But honestly, the wedding wasn't even what was bothering me most. It was this heavy realization that had been growing inside me for years, but that I'd always pushed down. My relationship with Jake was completely one-sided. Had been since we were kids. I'd always been there, helping with homework, covering for him when he missed curfew, lending money I knew I'd never see again. I'd written it off as, that's what family does. But family is supposed to go both ways, right? 3 months after the bail incident, Jake's case was moving forward. His lawyer called me directly one evening as I was heating up some leftover Chipotle. Jake's trial is next Monday, the lawyer said. We need character witnesses, people who can testify to Jake's good qualities, his contributions to the community, that sort of thing. I almost laughed out loud. Community contributions? Jake couldn't even contribute to the Netflix account he was mooching off me. He specifically asked for you, the lawyer continued. Said you've always been his rock. The court appearance is at 9 a.m. Can we count on you? I thought about all those times Jake had been there for me. The list was embarrassingly short. When I broke my arm in 4th grade, he made fun of my cast. When I graduated college, he didn't show up because he had concert tickets. When our grandma died, he borrowed money from me at the funeral. I'll let you know, I told the lawyer and hung up. Mom called almost immediately after. You're going to testify for Jake, right? He needs us now more than ever. I don't know, Mom. What do you mean you don't know? He's your brother, I closed my eyes and counted to 10. Being related to someone doesn't give them a free pass to treat you like garbage. He made a mistake. People make mistakes. It's not about the DUI, Mom. It's about everything else. She didn't get it. Or maybe she did and just couldn't face it. Either way, she hung up on me, something she'd never done before. That Sunday night, the eve of Jake's trial, my phone blew up with texts. Jake, see you tomorrow, sis. Wear something nice, okay? Lawyer says jury likes that. Mom, we'll save you. A seat in the front row. Dad, your mother's very upset. Please reconsider. Amber, Jake's counting on you. Don't be selfish. I turned my phone off and went to bed early. The next morning, I woke up at my usual time, showered, put on my normal work clothes, and drove straight to the office. I didn't even look in the direction of the courthouse as I passed it. My phone stayed off all day. I buried myself in spreadsheets and client calls, trying to ignore the sick feeling in my stomach. Was I being cruel? Was I overreacting? Was this what toxic family members meant when they accused you of being dramatic? By the time I got home, I had 23 missed calls and about 40 texts. I scrolled through them with a strange detachment. Mom, where are you? Dad, your mother's crying in the courthouse bathroom. Answer your phone. Jake, they're calling witnesses soon. Where the heck are you? Amber, wow, just wow, shows your true colors. The last text was from Mom, sent just an hour ago. Jake got the maximum sentence, 5 years. I hope you're happy with yourself. Weirdly enough, I didn't feel happy or satisfied or vindicated. I just felt free. Like I'd finally put down a heavy backpack I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten it was there. Tom came home to find me making dinner, actually cooking. Not just microwaving something. I'd stopped by the grocery store and picked up ingredients for lasagna, his favorite. Heard what happened, he said carefully, setting his keys on the counter. Your mom called my work. I nodded, continuing to layer noodles and sauce. And nothing. It was your choice. He came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. You okay? Yeah, I said, surprised to find I meant it. I really am. Update. Wow. Didn't expect this post to blow up like it did. Jake's been in prison for a month now. He calls every day. Sometimes Mom, sometimes me. I've yet to pick up. The wedding fund's gone, but Tom surprised me with a courthouse appointment next month. Says he doesn't care where we get married as long as it's to each other. Meanwhile, Mom's on this guilt trip crusade. Says Jake's changed in prison and I need to forgive him. But here's my question. At what point is forgiveness just permission to hurt you again? His latest letter claims he has something important to tell me. Should I finally take his call? The first letter from Jake arrived 3 weeks after the sentencing. The envelope was wrinkled, the handwriting messier than I remembered. I left it unopened on my kitchen counter for 2 days before curiosity got the better of me. I know I messed up, it began. Classic Jake opener. Acknowledge wrongdoing just enough to create an opening for what he really wants. Prison is hell. The food is worse than that time you tried to make enchiladas for my birthday. I snorted. Even behind bars, he couldn't resist taking a shot at me. I get why you didn't show up at court. I heard what I said that day. Amber told me. I was stressed and talking out of my ass. You know I didn't mean it. That was the thing about Jake. He always assumed an apology, if you could even call this an apology, would fix everything. One, my bad, and the slate was wiped clean. But life doesn't work that way. Trust is like a Jenga tower. You can remove a few pieces and it'll still stand, but eventually, one wrong move brings the whole thing crashing down. The prison calls started coming daily. I'd see the automated message on my caller ID. You have a collect call from an inmate at Federal Correctional Institution. Press 1 to accept. I never pressed 1. Mom started showing up unannounced at my apartment, armed with guilt trips and Jake's messages. He's really suffering in there, she said one Saturday morning, uninvited but already making herself at home on my couch. He shares a cell with some guy who snores like a chainsaw. He can barely sleep. That's rough, I said, not looking up from my laptop where I was researching affordable wedding venues. Just because the fund was gone didn't mean Tom and I were giving up on having some kind of celebration. He asks about you every time I visit, wants to know if you're getting his letters. I got them. And? Aren't you going to write back? Or visit him at least? I finally looked up. Mom, I bailed him out, I emptied my savings for him, and he couldn't even pretend to be grateful. Instead, he mocked me, called my life pathetic. Was under stress. People say things they don't mean when they're stressed. No, Mom, people say exactly what they mean when they're stressed. They just usually have enough filter not to say it out loud. She left in tears. Dad called later that evening, his voice tired. Your mother's upset. I know. Jake made a mistake. Which one? The DUI, the drugs, stealing my wedding fund, or calling me pathetic? A long silence. Then, we've all enabled him for too long. Your mother and I, we know that. But he's still family, that word again, family, as if sharing DNA was a get-out-of-jail-free card for treating people like garbage. Except in Jake's case, it literally wasn't. He was still very much in jail. I love you guys, I told Dad. But I need some distance from Jake right now, maybe forever. I don't know yet. Another letter came, then another, each one more desperate than the last. I'm changing in here, he wrote, taking classes, got a job in the library. Please just talk to me. Meanwhile, life went on. Tom and I set a date for a courthouse wedding, followed by a small reception at our favorite local brewery. Nothing fancy, just close friends, some string lights, and a playlist of our favorite songs. My dress was off the rack from Nordstrom. Rack, on sale for $125. No veil, no train, just a simple white dress that made me feel pretty. You sure you're okay with this? I asked Tom one night as we finalized our tiny guest list at our kitchen table. It's not exactly what we planned. He looked up from his Miller Lite. You kidding? I get to marry you without having to make small talk with 100 distant relatives? This is way better. 2 days before our courthouse date, Amber showed up at my office. She looked different. Less makeup, more subdued clothes. The receptionist called my extension. There's an Amber here to see you, says she's family. I almost sent her away. But curiosity won out. I found her nervously pacing our small lobby, chewing on a hangnail. Jake wanted me to give you this, she said without preamble, thrusting an envelope into my hands. He says it's important. Why didn't he just mail it like the others? She looked down. He's been having some trouble in there. Got into a fight last week. Lost his commissary privileges. For a split second, worry flashed through me. Old habits die hard, but I tamped it down. And he sent you as his messenger? We say you broke up, she said, surprising me. After I told him what I heard him say about you at court. He denied it at first, then got mad at me for snitching. That's when I realized you were right to walk away. I stood there, envelope in hand, not sure what to say. He's not a bad person, she continued, just selfish, always has been. Anyway, I didn't come to defend him. Just to deliver that and to say, I'm sorry for calling you selfish that day. Takes one to know one, I guess. After she left, I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $15,000, drawn from an account I didn't recognize, along with a short note. Wedding fund replacement. Don't ask where it came from. Consider us even. I stared at the check, a cold feeling spreading through my chest. Don't ask where it came from. Classic Jake, solve one problem by creating another, potentially bigger one. Was this money stolen? Borrowed from some loan shark? Connected to something illegal he'd set up from inside? I tore up the check and threw it away. Update. First off, thank you all for the incredible advice and support. Tom and I got married at the courthouse last week, and honestly, it was perfect. Just us, 2 friends as witnesses, and dinner after at our favorite steakhouse. The Reddit community was right. Sometimes the best weddings are the simplest ones. As for Jake, he's still calling, still writing letters. Last week, Mom dropped the bombshell that the mysterious $15,000 check came from selling Dad's restored '67 Chevy, the car he'd been working on for a decade. Dad didn't know until after Jake arranged it. Now I'm facing a dilemma I never expected. Do I re-establish contact just to help my parents deal with Jake? Or is maintaining this boundary the kindest thing for everyone in the long run? The courthouse. Wedding was nothing like I'd imagined as a little girl, but honestly, it was perfect. Just me, Tom, our 2 best friends as witnesses, and a justice of the peace who looked like she moonlighted as a rock band drummer. I wore my Nordstrom rack dress. Tom wore the suit he uses for job interviews. And afterward, we all went to Texas Roadhouse, where our friends had secretly arranged for those singing waiters to bring us a giant chocolate cake with "Congrats on getting hitched" written in messy icing. We couldn't afford a honeymoon, but we took a long weekend at this little cabin Tom's buddy owned up in the mountains. 3 days of hiking, drinking cheap wine by a fireplace and not checking our phones. Once. It was the lightest I'd felt in years. Reality came crashing back the day we returned. Mom was sitting on our doorstep when we pulled up, her face drawn and tired. "Your father's had a heart attack," she said. The world tilted sideways. Dad had always been the healthy one, daily, walks, watching his cholesterol, the whole 9 yards. He was the steady rock in our family's chaos. Is he? I couldn't even finish the sentence. He's stable, but it was serious. At the hospital, Dad looked small in the oversized bed, tubes running from his arms, the steady beep of machines marking each heartbeat. He managed a weak smile when he saw me. "There's my girl," he rasped. "How was the wedding?" I showed him pictures on my phone and he nodded approvingly. "You look happy. That's all that matters." Later, in the hallway, Mom filled me in on what happened. "It was the stress," she said, her voice hollow. "Jake, he sold your father's Chevy." The Chevy. Dad's pride and joy, a 1967 Impala he'd been restoring for nearly a decade. Every Saturday morning, rain or shine, he'd be out in the garage, tinkering with that car. It was his retirement project, his passion. "What do you mean, Jake sold it?" "Jake's in prison. He arranged it somehow. Called one of his friends, had them take it to some dealer. Your father didn't know until the money was gone." The money, realization dawned. The check, the $15,000. Mom nodded miserably. "Jake said he was making things right with you. Your father found out last week when he went to work on the car and found the garage empty. That's when it happened." Anger washed over me in hot waves. Jake had taken the one thing that brought Dad joy and sold it off, all to make things right with me? No, not even that. To ease his own guilt, to feel better about himself. It was never about me. "Have you told Jake?" I asked. "Not yet. I don't want to upset him." I almost laughed. "Don't want to upset Jake? What about Dad? What about what Jake's done to this family?" "He's still family," she said, but the words sounded hollow even to her, I could tell. That night, for the first time in months, I pressed 1 when the automated prison call came through. "You picked up." Jake's voice was disbelieving, hopeful. "Sis, I can't believe— Did you sell Dad's car?" I cut him off, a pause. "I did it for you. To replace your wedding fund. I never asked you to do that. I never wanted you to do that. But I needed to make things right between us. Dad had a heart attack, Jake, because of what you did." The silence on the other end stretched for what felt like eternity. "Is he okay?" "He's alive. No thanks to you. I didn't know. I swear I didn't." That's the problem, Jake. You never know. You never think about how your actions affect anyone but yourself. And we've all been enabling it for years. "Please," he whispered. "I can't lose you too. You're the only one who's ever believed in me." Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I should have stopped believing in you a long time ago. I heard him breathing, heavy and jagged on the other end of the line. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "For everything. For what I said about you. For the car. For being who I am." For the first time, he actually sounded sincere. "I'm sorry too," I told him. "Sorry that it took me this long to stand up for myself. Will you ever forgive me?" It was the $1,000,000 question, wasn't it? Not just about the car or the wedding fund or even what he'd said about me, but for the lifetime of taking without, giving back, for being the black hole at the center of our family that everything revolved around. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But I know this. I love you, Jake. You're my brother. That won't change. But loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you over and over." "So what now?" he asked, his voice small. "Now I focus on Dad getting better, on my marriage, on building a life that's actually mine, not just a support system for yours. And me, you focus on actually changing, not just saying the words, actually doing the work." After I hung up, Tom found me sitting on our tiny balcony, watching the sunset turn the sky the color of spilled wine. "You okay?" he asked, sliding into the chair beside me. "Yeah," I said, surprising myself by meaning it. "I actually am." 6 months later, Dad was back on his feet. One of Dad's buddies from his old job found him another '67 Impala, not as nice as the original, more rust than car, really. But I'd never seen Dad happier than when he was back in the garage, radio, playing classic rock, wrench in hand. Jake still called, but less frantically now. He'd enrolled in every program the prison offered: GED classes, anger management, addiction counseling. He'd even started a book club for the other inmates. Small steps, but steps nonetheless. I visited him once, just to see for myself. He looked different, calmer, more settled in his own skin. We talked about Dad, about Tom, about his future plans for when he got out. "I'm proud of you," I told him, and meant it. For what? Being slightly less of a screw-up? For trying to be better. That's all any of us can do. As I drove home from the prison, I thought about that wedding fund, now long gone. At the time, it had felt like such a devastating loss. But looking back, it was actually the best money I'd ever spent. Not on Jake's bail, but on finally understanding my own worth. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones that end up being priceless.